The next key factor of the line-out that we want to look at is the jump and catch. Now, as supporting has become more acceptable throughout the game of rugby, the skill of jumping has somewhat been reduced. However, it's still vitally important that our jumpers actually do jump, as it makes life a lot easier for our supporter. So what do we need to teach our players in order to jump and catch effectively? First of all, we have the stance of the jumper. Next, we have movement if it applies to supporters and jumpers. We have the jump of the jumper and the actions that can get them up into the air as explosively as they can, and the actual catch of the ball. The stance of the jumper begins with the feet positioning. The first thing that jumpers got to realise is that they must have their inside foot forward. If this is a line of touch here, it means that my right leg is my inside leg, and I need to have that placed forward of my left leg. This is going to mean that my right shoulder is promoted in front of my left shoulder, and also that hopefully it's going to be promoted in front of my opposition's shoulder. If my shoulder's in front of theirs, it's going to make it a lot easier for me to reach up and grab the ball in front of them. One other aspect of the foot position that we need to be aware of is where the players are balancing on their feet. What they need to ensure is that they're on the front third or the balls of their feet. This is going to lead to a slight knee bend, which means that they are in a position to jump as effectively and as explosively as they can. The next aspect of the stance that we've got to look at is where we place our hands, because these are obviously the things that are going to catch the ball. If we build on our stance that we've talked about, in terms of having our inside foot forward on the balls of our feet and a slight knee bend, we need to have our hands away from the opposition. If we have our hands where the opposition can grab them, or move in front of them, or in any way disrupt them, it's going to disrupt our ability to catch the ball. So we need to have our hands away from the opposition. This is a stance that our jumpers need to have just prior to them jumping and contesting for the ball. The next key factor of the jump and catch that we need to have a look at is the movement of the players. In some lineouts, there is no movement required. The jumpers simply go up where they are. But very often, movement is a key component of many lineouts. What we need to ensure is that when players are moving, that they're moving on the balls or the front of their feet. This means they're going to move effectively and as quickly as possible. They also need to have their head up, looking in the direction of either the player that they're supporting on or the thrower from where they're going to receive the ball. They also must have a low body height where they need to bend their knees so that they can ensure that they can jump up at any time. The next part of the jump and catch that we need to look at is the jump itself. And this is really crucial for jumpers to understand to make life really simple for supporters and to ensure that you have a successful line-out. Just prior to jumping and in the position where we left off, players need to make a slight counter movement, which is going to load the muscles to make sure that they can effectively explode upwards. The movement of exploding upwards is called triple extension. This is where they're generating the power surrounding the ankle joints, the knee joints and the hip joints to drive them upwards as explosive as they can. The next key factor of the jump and catch that we need to look at is the catch itself. And this is very simply where the jumper needs to place their hands in a position where they can catch the ball. A common theme is where they keyhole the ball, where they can look through their hands and ensure that the ball is guided straight into their hands so that they can catch the ball. What the players need to concentrate on is to catch the ball and bring it down to their chest as quickly as they can. This will ensure that the opposition have no chance of disrupting the ball when the jumper is trying to bring it down to the ground. As you can see, the setup for this drill is pretty simple. All the players are really concentrating on here is trying to catch the ball and bring it back to their chest as quickly as they can, trying to simulate the idea of when they're in the air as a jumper, and the longer that they leave the ball in the air, the more chances that the opposition can steal it. Here we've got a thrower and a jumper standing approximately 5 metres apart. The drill's for the jumper, who must pitter-patter on their feet and jump up to catch the ball when the ball's thrown to them. Obviously what we're concentrating on here is dynamic little footsteps for the jumper, so that in a game they can always be prepared to jump whenever and wherever they can. The jumper must concentrate on springing from their heels and using the force generated from their calves and their quads to get as high as they can. It's very important that the jumper puts as much emphasis on the jump as possible to make life really simple for the supporters. The setup for this drill is pretty simple. You've got two jumpers standing half a metre either side of the line of touch, and a hooker who's going to throw the ball in. The jumpers take it in turns to discuss with the hooker what kind of throw they require. Obviously the skill here is for each jumper to try and move into space to effectively catch the ball. What we're building on here is not only the individual skills of the line out throw and the jump, but also the starting of the building of the relationship between the thrower and the jumpers, because that's an important relationship that needs to be built on, especially when we include the supporters.